All right, everybody. It is officially the second episode of the EAW podcast here. I am Showster 26, as you all may well know. I'm really excited. This week, it's Dia Del Diablo, the big FPV, the first FPV of the new season here at EAW. Tonight, I got a great guest. A guy who is a former new breed champion, former national elite champion, and by the end of this week, he could very well be the number one contender to the EAW championship. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my very special guest, who I want to thank for taking some time out of his day. Welcome, Rex McAlister. Woo!
Hello, EAW.
Alrighty. Alright, so for anybody wondering, it's going to be a little bit of a different format from the show that we had last week. That was a great episode with Eclipse Demos, who I want to thank for his, for coming on yesterday. Last week, and really, taking the time out and sharing with us about what happened over the week. But this week is going to be a little bit more focused on our guest here. I'm really excited to talk about Rex McAlister specifically, and how he's feeling going into this FPV and everything that's kind of led him to this point. So again, Rex, thank you for taking time out of your day.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, so first question off, when did you start watching wrestling?
I believe I was about 15, 16 years old. My very first match that I ever actually saw was the WCW event from Atlanta, Georgia, the home of Bill Goldberg, where he had to fight 2 matches in one night. First, he had to take on Scott Hall from the NWO just to advance to face Hollywood Hogan.
Okay.
And after that night, after he did that, jackhammer on Hogan, and I was pretty much hooked after that.
I'm sure a lot of people were when they saw that one. I'm pretty sure if you were around WCW that time, it really felt like a new era in that time. Not unlike how it feels like a new era here with you. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say WCW was, at the time, it was actually, the ratings were okay, and, they were selling out events all over. And that one, I think it was really kind of, a mixture of just, getting introduced to these, strong, personalities like Bill Goldberg and Hollywood Hogan, and kind of having an idea just, from hearsay of, who Hogan was, in general, to the populace and stuff, to the wrestling world, and, and then the hype, behind it, after he beat Scott Hall, and then, the electricity in the building altogether, just all of that compiled into one. It was so, it just got me so hooked, and after that, I was just, really hooked on wrestling, and I started catching every single event every Monday, WWF, when it was WWF, and then WCW, obviously.
Okay. And were there any particular workers who were kind of like your favorites? Were you more into the main event guys in WCW, or were you, kind of, looking more forward to undercard workers, like say, Chris Benoit or Chris Jericho? Were you looking more towards acts like Degeneration X and Triple H, the New Age Outlaws? Were you, who were the guys you were looking forward to seeing, every Monday?
Oh, well, yeah, the upper main event guys, they were definitely guys that I paid attention to. I know just from WCW alone, watching guys like Chris Jericho, he had, I think, a few months earlier made a heel turn and stuff. So he was doing a lot of hijinks and comedy acts and stuff on his way to the ring, and that character was easily someone that I could relate to and adapt to, and then I liked Booker T. When he was pretty much mid Carter, he had kind of broken out of the tag scene at that point, and him and Chris Benoit were trading back and forth to the United States Championship, and I thought that was a fun series to watch. But obviously, the NWO was the thing at that point, and they were still relatively strong. And Goldberg taking the title from Hollywood Hogan took away a little bit of their steam, and he had that streak going.
Mm-hmm.
WWE, I was definitely just, I was hooked at first with the main storyline between Austin McMahon. McMahon so adamant about getting that title off of Stone Cold, and putting it on anybody else that wasn't Stone Cold, and just having him sit there, Austin, and disrespect the boss every week, especially after he lost the title, that main storyline is just easily to follow, and then obviously I got to know a lot of the other characters like Mankind and The Rock, Ken Shamrock, guys, to that nature that just they had strong personalities and were easily adaptable and relatable to watch.
Okay. So yeah, basically the whole late 90s scene was kind of like it was always kind of much watch television. So here's the question now. Personally, at what point did you discover e-fedding, and when did you decide that you wanted to give it a try? Hello?
So 2015, I joined up with a hybrid e-federation called World Wrestling Existence. I'm actually a current member of that e-fed along with EAW at the same time. And then I caught on to EAW in November of 2015.
Okay. Who turned you on to EAW?
Really, it was just kind of simple browsing. The thing at the time was the other e-federation that I was in, only had one actual writer that wrote different shows, and basically, he, I give him mad ups, because the federation's been around a long time. It's been around since the early 2000s, and really, there was nothing to criticize about his work. He did, really, outstanding job. But the whole thing with me was that my character, which is also Rex McAllister, he had serious momentum at that point, and really doing two shows and having just one single writer, doing like so many matches between two shows, it's like there's this whole period where you have to expect that it's not going to be out within like 2 days after you post your deadlines and stuff, and really that was the case. And really at that time I was so into it, I was like, I need to find another outlet, I need to find something else, and I just started browsing, and came on a couple of e-federations that were already defunct, they were out of business, and then I came upon EAW, and really at first I looked at it all, and it was kind of like overwhelming at first, and I didn't really know if I was going to stick with it, but it was like I saw how much work people put in and stuff between the writers and the people that actually promo, and I was just like, I got to try this, and
okay,
here I am.
Okay, so you've always been working as Rex McAllister, and from what I understand, just through both federations. You have no other characters?
Rex is the main one. I don't have any alternate characters in EAW. In the other Federation, I actually have a few other characters but really it's just kind of to fill out the roster. It's not, anywhere near the, full maximum roster.
Just 1 second, Jet.
Obviously.
Okay, so just the one character. Can you tell us a little bit about how the Rex McAllister character kind of started or developed, or how you sort of had this inception of Rex?
Well, compared to what he is today, I didn't really have a whole, fine outlook as to what the Rex McAllister character was going to be at the start of being in Elite Answers Wrestling, because I kind of brought him in as like, basically this obnoxious heel that, like anybody, like, even I could relate to even Mark Michaels and, compared to the early Rex, because, Rex came in, he was kind of like cocky and he thought he was badass coming from another U Federation and, basically thinking that he was already, fit and everything. And really, it just kind of evolved because I was, in a major slump, really, when I first started, because everything was so new to me with EAW compared to the World Wrestling Existence Federation that I was in. So I was just like, whoa, I had to stand back a moment and, kind of like analyze everything and figure out, what's going wrong and, how do I evolve this character? Because, I didn't really have the intention, like, I wanted to, go away for a while and then come back because, you go away, I've already seen it. You just, you take a character out of the picture, out of the story, and then you try to bring him back, and, it's not really the same. It takes a while to evolve the character again, and I really wanted to continue on from there, and I think when, in season 9, when he started to break away from the mold where he was under Xavier Williams, he started to break out on his own, and he got to the Cash in the Vault ladder match. That's where he started to kind of like separate himself from Rex, the heel that's operating under, a stable, in an organized state, really, with Xavier Williams, and just kind of becoming, an individual as himself. And then as season 10, wore on, Rex, just kind of like the Rex character started just evolving from, a guy that had, a lack of direction to a guy that just, said, okay, this is, how EAW operates. He started like, putting 2 and 2 together, every step of the way. And basically by the end of the season, you had what you got now with Rex. And, obviously he's going through sort of a, another evolution of, into a heel turn, as Robbie is writing it. But he's still got the same principles, and he's still got, that, whole outlook of, it's really just about all the experience, that he's, gathered from this point to, hopefully, by the end of Diablo, gets him the #1 contendership for the EAW championship. Okay. Going back kind of to those early feuds, that whole first kind of heel run when you first came in, what were your thoughts as far as just sort of getting acclimated to how the feuds work here? Was there anybody you really enjoyed working with at that time? And if so, how so? Well, Xavier Williams was really, the only one that Rex worked with for the most part in season 9, because from there, before hooking up with Xavier Williams, Xavier being sort of a mentor of sorts, Rex, kind of just went week from week, fighting this guy and that guy, and basically, not really evolving, a whole lot. But then Xavier and Demon, they were the writers at the time for Showdown, and once they wrote Rex into the, into the stable with, at first it was Xavier, Rex, Dustin Brash, and then Kane Cronin after that. But once it was just Xavier and Rex, at that point, that was the only, real personalities that Rex had, been associated with for the most part of season 9. And he didn't really have a whole, big background or storyline put behind him at that point, because he was still, growing as an elitist. And, it wasn't until last season in general that he really started, building feuds, with different characters.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's kind of my next point here, because after Pain for Pride 10, you're on Showdown, and Showdown happens to get the New Breed Championship, and of course you had that New Breed title run, winning it off of Chris Elite. We're almost a year to the day, correct?
Oh yeah, that was the point where Brian and Matt Ryder saw planes flying over. They came up with the New Breed Scramble series, and basically, I really felt like that's where Rex really just started to come into his own, because before that point, he just came off the loss at Pain for Pride, in the Cash in the Vault, and then after several battles, to try to get, to a match with the Pizza Boy for the National Elite Championship. He, faltered against Nico, and then later Pizza Boy. But then the Scramble series came around, and he really just kind of evolved. You found out, he started to find out who he was at that point, and he started, making do with what he had, basically, and what he had developed through all the experiences that he had been through, the highs and the lows, and it all paid off, come rite of passage, because Rex had accumulated the most points in that Scramble series, be able to pick what spot he wanted to come out, and I just kind of knew that, when Matt Ryder, he emailed me after I had won the Scramble series, and he said, "What number do you want to come out at?" And I said, "Last." So I heard how I wanted to play it off, and I'm glad it worked out.
Okay. So there was the Scramble series. Unfortunately, the New Breed title run didn't last too long. You went in. I believe one of your first defenses was against Ryan Marks, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And basically, it was at that point when Rex first got a title that he really started getting, challenged more. And, he started, seeing the bigger challenges beyond the New Breed. The guys that were already being pushed towards the main event, or guys that are already cemented as main event guys. And it was right after he had that first defense against Chris Elite for the New Breed that, he kind of saw all those different personalities, in consecutive weeks. And Ryan Marks, that guy has a tremendous promoter, all around, to begin with. And, he's far past anything, you would see in the New Breed division. And it was almost an injustice to the rest of the New Breed that, he was actually in that division to begin with. And so when I had to, go up against Ryan at the passage, I felt like, I was, supposed to win. I don't know why I felt that, because he was such a great promoter, and I knew that he had the momentum behind him and stuff. I guess at the time I just felt like I wasn't going to lose that quickly, with New Breed. But then again, as you said, I kind of went into a slump after that, and, after I won the New Breed. And so it kind of just, led to that point. But, Ryan, high props to him. He definitely earned it. And, obviously he's gone on to greater things. And the open weight champions holds right now. So, I'm proud of him.
There's no shame in losing to that guy. I had the chance to work, with him for that open weight championship, and he's one of those guys who brings it. He was writing these great promos, and there's no shame in dropping the belt. But I think it also speaks more highly to the level of competition that was on Showdown, especially in the new breed division at that time. And just, because even he dropped it to Cody Marshall the next month. And I think it was, there was this great crop of guys who was working in the new breed division at the time.
Yeah, definitely. Showdown was just, I don't want to discredit, what the other riders were doing with the other brands, because the other brands were great. But with Showdown, as competitive as it was, it just seemed like from week to week to week, every promoter that was a part of that roster, it was almost like, an unspoken obligation to sit there and push each other each week, to greater levels and stuff. And, make these stories work, that Brian was putting out, that Matt was putting out. And I mean, at least speaking, for myself, that's how I felt, that every week when I was booked on the card, it was like, what do I do basically to, top what I did the week before? And that was just my mindset for like the whole season.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Moving a little bit forward, let's talk about the National Elite title. How did it feel when you first found out that you were going to be working that program? How did you feel going into all that?
I was excited. I was excited because, at that point, I knew that going through, what I did, promoing against the guys I did in the King Elite tournament, and then promoing against the Answers World Champion at the time, Lannister, and all of that to me, it kind of just made sense. That it was a road that led right back to the National Elite Championship, because basically where your character's at right now, competing in the Flaming Tables match for the National, that's where my character was last year.
I hope I could do as well as you did. I mean, man, that's setting the bar really high. Talk about no pressure.
Well, it's playing out the same way, it seems like, because, I can see the determination, from reading your promos, but basically, where Nobi's at right now, facing Stark, that's where Nico Borg was last year, where the first match, was like a 6-man battle royal, and Nico won that, and then after that, Rex went into Diablo, and he beat the other 4 guys that were in the match, and but at that time it wasn't to be, because Pizza Boy, he was too strong, of a promoter basically. But I gave it everything I had. But this time around, when I went for National against Nico and Matt Ryder, it just, everything felt right. It was just like, the whole setting was right. I finally had gotten a few more matches under my belt against bigger names, and I was like, you know what, I'm ready for this. I didn't know if I was going to win or not, but I definitely felt like I was in the right position, and I'm glad, that Brian and Matt had the confidence to put me in that position at the time.
Well, I'm sure, they were happy with the result. Sticking with this new breed with the National Elite title run, any favorite feuds out of that particular era? Any particular matches that you really enjoyed working, even if they were just like something off of a weekly show or one of the bigger pay-per-views? How were you? What was kind of like you? What do you feel were like the moments of that run that really stood out?
Well, yeah. Well, don't forget. I mean, Rex's National, Elite title reign really kind of came around the Grand Rampage time. So in between when he won it, he had the first defense against Lars Greer at Goldmine, and then there was the Grand Rampage. And then after that, shortly after Grand Rampage, he had Dark Game. And but to answer your question, I think really the Falls Count Anywhere match against Dark King was definitely his coming out match, really, because he was going into a match, where he was putting his title on the line in an open challenge, and he was giving his challenger everything, that he could possibly, have as an advantage. And, Rex walking into a match that was out of his element, and, he had yet to prove that he could actually, wrestle, in that type of environment, really. I mean, there was the Flaming Tables match, at Diablo, but, there was nothing compared to the Falls Count Anywhere match. But if there was a match last season, before Paying for Pride, it would be that one, that was his reign as the National League champion. Dark King was a good promoter, and I always had high, feelings about him coming in, even just having his first real FPV at Reasonable Doubt when Rex won his National League championship, in that Battle Royal. From there it was like I looked at that name and I was like, this is probably one of the guys that's going to stick around for a while, that's going to stick. And but he was good to go against. He motivated me in more ways than I can even speak of right now. Just to go out there and promo the best that I could, just to retain the championship. But that's the one match that sticks out in my mind. That really highlighted Rex McAllister's reign as the National League championship.
All right. From there, you're going to move on, and we're going to, and then there was the match with Stark. Going into Pain for Pride, what were your feelings on the run then? Did you feel like, okay, maybe they're already getting ready to... Did you foresee, like, how you could end up dropping the title there and moving on to something else, or did you, were you kind of feeling like you would kind of be in the same position you were for at least another month or two at the beginning of season 11?
I was actually, honestly, I was trying to chase down G.I. Styles' historic reign as National League champion. To be honest, because I really didn't see Rex losing. And I went in, to that, Pain for Pride against Stark. A hell of a promoter, probably one of the best that I've, seen in my time in the EAW. But I kind of saw myself holding the title a little bit longer. But that's not, to slight anybody. Certainly not Stark. Certainly not the writers. I promoted my ass off.
I think what you're trying to say is just, if you don't believe you're gonna win, then kind of what is the point of promoing? I know we were kind of a story based, but we're also kind of competition based. And if you're not promoing to win, then what are you promoing for? Sometimes I think that's kind of what you're saying.
It never crossed my mind that about season 11 or plans for Rex in season 11 or anything like that. I foresaw the National League championship still around Rex's place.
Okay. Well, after that match with Stark, which was a very good way to open Pain for Pride 10 officially, I really enjoyed the match. I really felt it had the right pacing to kind of open up the festivities. Then there was the draft show. You remained on Showdown. And then, what do you know, the first week of Showdown, you get thrown into this number one contender picture that's starting to shape up. When you're reading this, take us through your thoughts. What, when you're saying, oh, I'm getting involved in the number one contender match.
It was exciting because, I look at, characters like Devan Duban and Heartbreak Gal and, I'm like, I'm just like kind of in awe. It's like, wow, what name doesn't fit here, And here he is, just bursting through the curtain and making himself known. It was just like kind of an eye opener. It was like, wow, Robbie's throwing me right into the frame, and I was like, okay, let's go with this. Let's see where it goes. That's my excitement level right now.
Alrighty. Now, not only did you do this, but you've also now taken on the heel turn. Considering the path of how Rex McAllister has been traveling, what he's been doing, how are you taking this personally? What are the challenges, if any, that you find that working as the heel in this is?
Well, I mean, as a whole, Rex is just kind of, he's set, in his ways. He's got his own principles, and his ways of going about being successful. He doesn't, sit there and believe in having, nefarious means, really, to go about achieving what he is out to achieve. But at the same time, as you've seen and read, he will, go to certain lengths to, find victory. And really, I'm incorporating a lot of the storyline, into my promos now. But at the same time, I'm still keeping, him based, to his principles. And that's basically that, he wants this challenge. He wants, to find out, if Devan and, Heartbreak Gal are, kind of, really supposed to be the shape of the brand, or if, he really is the future, and basically, my promos, lately have kind of been going down that path where, okay, he's calling Devan out. He's calling Heartbreak out. He wants them to, prove why they're Hall of Famers. He wants them to prove, why they believe they're going to win. And, and at the same time, he's, out to basically, let them know that, he's an obstacle and he's in their way. And, if you want this obstacle out of your way, then you're going to have to, figure it out. And really, that's where I'm at right now with what Robbie's writing and where my promos are at.
Okay. First, now I want to kind of, I guess, zero in kind of on this whole feud. What is it like working with Dub and Heartbreak Gal for you? I've never worked with Dub, but I did get the chance to work with HBG once. We were both in the Glass Gauntlet match a few years back, and I remember her and, well, everybody in that match, putting out some very good material, and really, really helping to make that match special. What are your feelings so far about getting to work with them right now?
Well, I've worked with Devan before. First, when Rex became New Breed champion, one of his bouts going into Road to Redemption was against Devan, and then Rex saw him again in the King of Elite, second round. So I kind of had a feel for who Devan was at the time, but there was definitely excitement there, no doubt. Heartbreak Gal, I've spoken to her in chat, and she has a character that's basically she's always out to prove something to somebody, and I can understand and relate to that type of a character for sure. But as far as the stuff that we put out a couple weeks ago, I was excited about that, and what we were able to do and accomplish that week. And then it turned into a really well-written match that kind of highlighted more Rex's heel turn and basically her determination as she fights going into Diablo to become the first female to win a world championship. So, I think, working with these two definitely does a lot for Rex, but I think it does a lot for, Heartbreak Gal and Devan as well, because they get to go forward. One of them could advance, to face Tiberius, and, I think that basically it's been a good experience overall, and I'm excited, to see where this goes, going into Diablo and beyond.
Okay. So let's kind of go into the sort of the wrap up mode here now. Just a few final questions I have. First off, what is your favorite match overall throughout your tenure here in EAW?
Grand Rampage 9, DDD versus their Aries.
Okay.
That match. I know that was, I believe it was Robbie.
Okay.
But yeah, that basically had a lot of storytelling in it. From their history, of matches, and and then basically that was basically the precursor from Aries winning the Gold Rush tournament to earn that shot at facing Ryan at Grand Rampage 9. I don't know. I just that's the one match that I know from my time, because at that point I was probably like 4 months into EAW, and still even to this day that's still like my favorite match to have read.
Okay. Now, how about what is your favorite match involving the Rex McAllister character?
Definitely the favorite match for Rex. I have to give it to winning the National, because I didn't have doubts about whether I could win it or not, but I did know that Nico had just gotten into that reign, and I kind of felt like the way the story was going, that it could possibly go either way, Nico or Rex. And then the match was written, I believe it was written by Matt Ryder, and the way he wrote that match, and showing basically all the guts and the grit of Rex McAllister to be able to overcome basically the odds of being in Madison Square Garden and in front of the raucous crowd, and just being able to pull it out. That match sticks out to me as the favorite Rex McAllister match. And I guess you could say it was because for sure where the venue was, and the fact that it was a title match, and Rex had come through again the same way he had as the New Breed champion. They're just different things about that match. I can't remember every detail. But I remember that each time that Rex was put down, Rex would get back up, and I was like, this match is being written really well. This is how I foresee Rex all the time, a guy that just sits there and just doesn't quit. And that match is the one that sticks out.
Okay. So here's another match-related question. What is your favorite match in real life? What is your favorite real-life match?
Oh, that's a kind of a tough one. And I'm going to say my favorite match, it happened in the Attitude Era for sure, WWE. That was WrestleMania 17, The Rock versus Stone Cold. It was, I guess, their third battle for the World Championship. And, it had so many storylines behind it, because everyone kind of knew, like, Rock was going to Hollywood after that to do the Scorpion King, and then, but then it was like, okay, well, Austin, he's going to surely win the title, but it was like, how is he going to do it, because at the time, he didn't have a whole lot of momentum behind him really, because he had just lost to
Triple H.
Triple H in the Triple H in the 3 stages of hell back at the No Way Out, and then once Vince McMahon came out, I was like, what's going on here, but that match, I think that was like a 25-30 minute match, almost like you could call it a type of an Iron Man match in a way, because it was so long, but it had a lot of high spots in it, and I was really in love with those characters back then, The Rock and Stone Cold, because they were such strong personalities. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was pretty much finished, but yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say that that, like you were saying, it was a great little piece of work. It feels like a true, honest to goodness heavyweight fight for the title. It's 25 minutes of just knockdown, drag out, of fighting. I don't think I've seen a match with quite the same sort of intensity or that same kind of style executed at that level for that long.
Stone Cold and The Rock, they really put on a show, anytime they ever fought, but that match was kind of an embodiment of what the Attitude Era was about, as far as like two strong personalities, because WWE was creating characters left and right, that were becoming superstars, and those were the top 2 guys. You had Triple H, sure, you had
Undertaker,
Kurt Angle coming up, Undertaker, but those were the 2 guys right there, and it's like an epic heavyweight battle, and that one sticks out to me as like my favorite match, because a lot of people will say other matches, sure, and there's other eras of wrestling that I never really grew up on. I only started watching wrestling back in 1998, so at that time that was definitely the match that stuck out to me.
Okay. Here's another question. Have you ever pitched anything, any cool ideas for angles or matches or matchups to a writer, but it just never made it to the show?
Well, the other E-Federation that I'm in, like I said at the top, when you asked the question about E-Feding, it's a hybrid federation, so really what that entails is basically, in a sense, writing your own match and, strategy of how you foresee your wrestler, reacting, to certain situations and circumstances within a match, and sending that to the writer. And so to answer your question, and because I'm still a part of that federation, I pitch, different ideas all the time. But I haven't done anything for EAW.
Okay. Now, just to kind of finish up everything we're talking about, would you mind joining me with some way too early Dia Del Diablo predictions?
Let's see. I definitely think
I'll give you the matchups, and you could tell me who you think who's gonna take it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So first we have the number 1 contenders match for the National Elite title, the Flaming Tables match. You have Prince of Phenomenal, Lucas Johnson, Kais Botis, Johnny Nova, and Mark Michaels. Who are you thinking takes it?
Well, right now, given from what I've read on the promo page, Mark Michaels' backstory, getting to this point, and having challenged for the National before and coming so close to winning, and just basically, coming up short the first time around, you can kind of like get a sense for his determination through his promos that, he's pretty much, he's not, gonna lose this time. It's just the feeling that.
Your word to God's ears, or Robbie's.
What's that?
I said your words to God's ears, or Robbie's.
No, these are completely my words for sure. But I think Nobi, he got the deserved win the first time around. But I think with Michael's determination and the fact that he's been around a while and he's deserving, if not more deserving, than anybody else in the match. Even
I won't say more deserving. Everybody puts out some great work, but I do appreciate the the thoughts and that comment and compliment. Shifting gears, the unified tag team titles. We got the High Rollers, the dominant force of Davison and Ripley. They're taking on Haruna Skakezi and Azumi Gato. Tag team championships on the line. He doesn't list the stipulation for this match. Who are you thinking taking it?
Well, I see bigger things to come with the tag team championships on the line for the High Rollers, so I'm going to go with the High Rollers.
Okay. Openweight championship, a branding match. Ryan Marks, Mero. Both guys who I know bring great work to the table. Who are you thinking takes this one?
Well, I haven't seen Mero's work yet this week, but
again, just based on
I've kind of,
history and sort of thing. Who are you thinking gets it?
I want to say Ryan Marks, but not just because he's Ryan Marks and he's on Showdown, and I'm kind of impartial to Showdown elitists in general. But I want to say because it kind of the way the story's going, where Mero's kind of getting the one up on Ryan Marks, for the most part, and I think that the way it's playing out, that it's meant for the open weight champion, the first open weight champion being Ryan Marks, that he's going to have some hurdles, and I kind of feel like they're not going to unless Ryan just doesn't promo to his capabilities, obviously.
This is the competition title, so it's really kind of like, I think it's more in the vein of anything can happen. It is the competitor's title, if you will. But that being said, both guys are hell of competitors, and they bring great stuff to the table every time. Let's see.
Yeah, I completely.
Okay. Next up, 3 Degrees of Hell match. Ares Vendetta versus Diamond Cage. Jay Walker in the in the corner of Vendetta. Lannister in the corner of Cage. Who are you thinking takes this one?
I'm gonna go with Ares.
Okay, Ares. Let's see. Fire and Steel match. CM Banks versus Nazar Moore.
CM Banks.
CM Banks. Let's see. Then there's the National Elite Championship. Stark versus Nobi. Nobi
and Stark are gonna have a hell of a week promoing. They're both hell of a couple of promoters that we have, and they're dedicated. So, but I like Stark.
Okay, Stark to retain. The EAW the EAW Championship in a trial by fires match. Theron Nicholas versus Tiberius IV. Who do you think takes it in this one?
I like Tiberius.
So the champ retains. Okay, yeah. Okay. And that leaves just one more match, and that's Rex McAlister versus Devan Duban versus the Heartbreak Girl. Winner goes on for the EAW. Winner becomes the number one contender for the EAW World Championship.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make a prediction on that. I just, I want the handlers behind the Heartbreak Gal and Dub to, just good luck, and I want everybody to have a good promo week, and I don't have a true prediction for that. I'm gonna put out the best I can, just like I know they're gonna put out the best they can on the promo page, and I feel like it's gonna be one of the well written matches on the pay-per-view, as well as obviously all the matches I think are gonna be pretty well written, but. I'm excited. I don't have a prediction for that.
Okay. I think a lot of people are excited for that one because, as I said last week, there's a lot of new blood and, especially in the upper card scene. So I'm really intrigued at what the possibilities are for this one. I know I'll be, kind of cheering you on for this one. Sorry, guys. But he was my guest. Only the proper thing to do, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
So yeah. Anyways, I want to thank you, Rex, for joining us this week. It was great having you here. Thank you for taking time. I know you're a very busy brother, back home, and it means a lot to me that you took this time to kind of chat with me and keep this thing going.
Well, thank you, Showster. I wanted to give this a try. Eclipse, had a good, run with it last week, and I thought, when I listened to that, I was just like, I gotta give this a try. At least do it once in, my E-Federation time, and thank you for having me as the second guest on your podcast, man.
Okay. Any last words before I let you go?
EAW. Rex McAllister, I love you guys. I love being a part of this federation, this community. And I'll see you on the promo page. I'll see you in the forums. I'll see you on Discord. I love you all very much.
All right. Much love to you, Rex. Bye. All right. So that was Rex McAllister. Very great conversation we had with him just now. Very happy that he took time out of his day. I hope you'll be rooting for him along with me at Dia Del Diablo. Rooting for everybody, really. Our big FPV, the first FPV of Season 11, is this Saturday on July 29th, I believe, is the date. Make sure that you guys have your Discord apps open. Make sure that you guys are tuned in and watching and cheering and rooting. And just thanks again for everybody tuning in this week. This show is kind of a dream come true. I'm really happy with our first 2 weeks. Next week, I'm hoping to get another good guest to come in and sit down and chat with us. Let us know what you think as far as format. Did you guys prefer this, where we were talking more in depth about Rex's character? Or did you prefer something more like how we did last week, where it was sitting down and chatting with someone about the week-to-week events that have taken place? Let us know. Send in your thoughts. You could PM me. You could comment. You could like. You could subscribe. Won't hurt nobody. Anyways, thanks again, everybody, for listening. We'll catch you next week on the EAW podcast. Till then, Showster out.